At Dave Cooper Live, we connect the industry leaders in the architectural, engineering, and construction space with the people, the products, and the processes to help them build it better. All right, welcome everybody to Dave Cooper Live, where we showcase the people, the products, and the processes building it better. And yes, we had a short intro. We're having Canva issues. Anybody ever have that where things don't load properly? But that's where disasters come in, and we're talking about natural disasters. That's a little disaster for a show like this. We're talking about people that can really change how we do things and how FEMA and the government can use better solutions around the world. So on Dave Cooper Live, we bring you the people, the products, and the processes helping us all build it better. Today, we are welcoming Mark Norton, CEO of PM Green Energy and survivor of Hurricane Katrina. We're showcasing 100% off-grid housing for disaster relief, those experiencing homelessness, FEMA military and humanitarian organizations. Oftentimes, it's too late to wait until after the storm hits. That's right, too late after the storm hits. Here is one way cities, states, coastal, and island communities can solve for the many unpredictable problems we face each and every day. But before we get into all of this, we have to thank our supporting members. So let's hop into it, and we'll come right back to you. Forward Solutions Group is successfully driving companies to succeed where others have failed. Are you looking to start a factory, optimize your existing factory, streamline your production, or take your team to the next level? Whatever your needs are, Forward has a solution for you. Reach out to Ben at forwardsolutionsgroup.com. Howick Ltd. has a long history of innovation in cold form steel manufacturing and producing innovative precision roll forming technology for customers throughout the United States and the world. Check out their machine buyer's guide for off-site modular construction or fast build construction with light steel for framing. Go to their website, howickltd.com. Brought to you by Greatech, one of the largest Autodesk partners globally and software developer of the PowerPack Advanced Design, Advanced Steel, and the StruxSoft product line. The complete solution to automate wood and light gauge steel framing, design, and documentation all the way out to CNC output. Model, design, and manufacture with StruxSoft. Learn more at StruxSoftSolutions.com. All right. Thanks again to all of our supporting members. We cannot bring you all these informative conversations without them. And we cannot solve for housing affordability, homelessness, disaster relief without all of them supporting us to have people like Mark Norton on our show. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning or good afternoon on the East Coast.
Yeah, well, good afternoon to you as well. Mark, this is kind of exciting, right? Because we ran into each other in Washington, D.C. at the Innovative Housing Showcase put on by the International Code Council in HUD. And there was a lot of focus on opportunities of building structures such as yours that not only work for the homeless crisis, they work for natural disasters and disaster relief, but also military applications, because the world is changing, the environment's changing, and the homelessness crisis is only getting worse. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, your background, where you're from, because you're from the islands, and then let's get into what you do at PM Green Energy.
Well, thank you. That's actually the second time we went to the Innovative Housing Solutions Showcase on the National Mall. And the first time we just went there as a solar component to provide the off-grid electricity post-disasters. But since then, we have gone to become a complete solution. Our motto right now is no power, no water, no sewer, no problem. Whatever the circumstances are, if you have access to green energy, and it doesn't have to be solar, it can be wind, it can be hydro, it can be geothermal. If you have access to that, we can harvest, store, and convert that on site in in a housing unit that we will provide, and we design them simultaneously. To get into a little bit about how I got involved with this, I live currently on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi in a small town called Ocean Springs, just next to Biloxi. And I moved to Biloxi 5 weeks before Hurricane Katrina hit. To get into why I moved here, I grew up in the islands, like you said, in the Bahamas, and happy Independence Day to the Bahamas today, by the way. Um, and I grew up in the hospitality industry. My degree from Cornell is in hotel and restaurant administration, and I've owned restaurants. I've opened hotels and resorts for Disney, but I moved here to run one of the casinos in the Biloxi market. 5 weeks later, Katrina hit, and we had 1,300 employees with nowhere to live. And FEMA, doing their thing, they gave us these great Katrina cottages, but no way to power them. We couldn't get an certificate of occupancy without power, so they became moldy. There was an issue with some Chinese drywall and formaldehyde. Anyway, that's where the seed germinated. Where my question was, why can't someone invent a self-contained solution that can be delivered ready for occupancy? And that's where we are.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I couldn't even imagine living through Katrina, and everything that happened there. It's so vivid in my memory watching the news and people on top of their homes and all the things you had to go through. And then to hear that not only did you have to go through that, but then you got subpar housing out of it through the government, right? Is what I'm hearing with FEMA. And if I'm hearing you correctly, that was kind of the I'm done with this moment. Somebody has to do something better. Is that about
Right.
right?
That is about right. And I did stay in the casino industry for another 10 years, but then in January of 2016, I said, you know what? I left the casino industry and I started working on this solution. And me and my business partner, Pete Cerullo, we co-designed a solar system and a housing unit where we designed the load and the solar generator simultaneously. And we had tried it on other like RVs and other structures, and it just never seemed to work. Either the load was too big, or the solar array was too small. But we finally found a sweet spot, and we've been developing that since 2017. We built a prototype to take down to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, and they loved it. But that's where we understood, or we first learned that, this is not a ding on anybody except for how it's done. The government doesn't get money to respond to a disaster until after the disaster has been assessed and their request has been sent to
Yeah,
Congress.
yeah.
And then once those funds are allocated, they don't have time to wait for a production.
Right.
They want to buy off the shelf. They have to buy off the shelf. Otherwise, they're not accomplishing anything.
Right, right. Well, that's what I mean. How many times have we all watched the news and the president or governor comes on for their photo op and they go, well, yeah, I just approved the relief efforts, dot, dot, dot. Or I got off the phone with the president, dot, dot, right?
Right.
There's a little bit of that. I don't know if it's all intentional, but I know there's a lot of red tape and a lot of people involved in these disaster areas when these things happen. So, all right. So here you are. Where was the company founded?
It's in Mississippi. We're located, and we're still in Mississippi, and we're
Okay.
right now in negotiations to build a new production facility.
Excellent. And that's going to be also in the Ocean Springs, Mississippi area?
It's actually going to be a little bit inland. We don't want to be on the coast where a storm surge would wipe us out. So we're a
Right.
little bit inland, but close enough that we can respond within a day.
I love it. I love the area you're in. We talked a little bit about it in the show, and you want some of the best shrimp. It's a great place to get shrimp in, a nice town to do it. All right. So how many years now have you been doing this, and how many units do you have deployed?
Well, we formed the company in April of 2017. we went to our first mission was to go down to Puerto Rico after Maria,
Yeah.
and that's when we built our first prototype, and we've been building them to order ever since. What we need is an inventory of about 300 of them to be on hand, ready to deploy at a moment's notice. Um,
Hmm.
and and we're still looking for funding to allow us to build that inventory. So what we have on hand right now is zero. We only build them when people place an order.
Only when people place an order, right? And then there's order times, and people are sitting on the
Right,
streets or in subpar conditions until that
right.
all comes together. Got it. All right. So since your inception, what partnerships or collaborations do you already have? Do you have any in place? Are people wanting to work with you? Are you finding open arms? Or you finding closed doors?
Well, nobody is willing to give us anything in writing, particularly from the government side. We do have an agreement with a defense contractor who wants to represent us to the military applications. We were approached back in, it had to be 2022, the end of 21. We were approached by the Navy Seabees to develop an off-grid military solar generator that can be used in a forward base, either in a desert or an island or
Right.
in an area where it's difficult to get fuel to. And there's conflicts that are brewing right now, and this defense contractor, they said that they could represent us and get us. We developed a solar generator that fits in an ISU 90 container that is suitable for military transport. It can be deployed fully charged. When it gets dropped, it's ready to be used. My partner and I assembled one in 2 hours using the electricity that came out of the generator. So it's delivered with enough power that we could,
Okay.
you know,
So tell
it's ready to go.
So we're going to get into all the parts and pieces on this, right? Because I see
Right,
up there that we had, no electricity, no water, no sewer, right? It's kind of like the no problem. We got you covered. And I want to get
right.
into that. But first, let's talk about the definition of rapidly deployable and what it actually means in regards to your product and what you're doing. Did we lose you, Mark?
I'm back.
All right, good. We lost your camera, but there you go. That's all
Okay.
right. So that's all right. Tell us a little bit. What does rapidly deployable actually mean?
To us, it means delivered ready for occupancy or ready for use. When we saw an article that one of the military bigwigs was saying that if we can get a a solar solution that we can start using power within 2 hours, it's an ideal situation for us. Well,
Right.
we can drop it. All you have to do is wake. We ship them with the batteries put to sleep. It takes 5 minutes to wake up the whole bank of batteries, and it actually doesn't take that long. But let's say it takes 5 minutes. You're ready with power in 5 minutes, and that's enough to last you, a full, however big the battery bank is. 20 kilowatt hours would
Yeah.
last you a couple days.
Is there any difference in your units versus like for homeless or for natural disasters or military? Is there any difference in the units, or is it a one size fits all?
No, we have a number of different floor plans. We have the one that we take to shows is typically that would be an ideal homeless solution. It's like a portable hotel room.
Right.
We have 2 bedroom, 1 bedroom. We have command centers. We have clinics, guard shacks. We have a whole list of them, and the floor plans are shown on our website.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I'm
and just
showing some of the floor plans here. This looks like the one
yeah,
that I saw at the Housing Innovation Showcase. Um,
right.
let's talk about this picture on the right because I see that you got your whole power solution and is that the batteries there, the blue?
Yeah, the blue items are the batteries, and we use that size because we can actually transport those by air. The FAA has some restrictions on what kind of batteries can be flown, so we
Oh,
use those.
Really? So even for
Mhm.
deployable units, there's a certain type of battery that can be transported, just like when we go through TSA traveling by as a consumer, right? I
Exactly.
didn't know
And
that.
well, it's interesting because I could take several pallets of those on a plane and no, there won't be a problem. But I can take the same equivalent with one or two batteries, and they'll say no, those are too big. So,
Right, right.
but I don't get it, and I don't want to get it.
So let's break this down. Let's talk about the homeless solution. What is the solution that you offer, and how are you working with local state officials, governments, or what have you?
Well, we have been talking to a number of organizations about it, and we're kind of again dissatisfied with the government approach because a lot of them need treatment first as opposed to housing first solutions. In fact, I just got a brochure from, I don't know if that's, yeah,
Yeah, you can see it.
from HUD, which talks about the more effective plans are to provide housing first and as opposed to treatment first. Most of the grants out there for homelessness um, focus more on therapeutic treatment and dealing with the mental health issues. Most of our solutions would be beneficial to the people that are just living, the one or two paychecks away from being solvent, which is a big part of the homeless population. But more importantly, if we had, let's say the number is 40,000 homeless veterans, we could actually provide every homeless veteran with an off-grid house for less than the cost of the wall. I mean, it would be less than,
Hmm.
and I don't, again, don't want to get political, but what they're spending on EV charging stations,
Right.
we could house every homeless veteran
Yeah,
in
yeah.
their own, and these are comfortable. We have a dignified approach to providing homeless solutions. And we're not therapists, and we don't want to be in the therapy business. But the
Mhm.
first thing, according to these new studies, are that if they have a dignified, safe shelter, then they're more receptive to the other forms of treatment.
Well, and that's it. If you want people to get back on their feet, they most people don't need a handout; they need a hand up, right? And I think
That's
that's
exactly right.
and also giving them their dignity while they're going through it, especially when you lost everything or you're out of work
Right.
or recovering alcoholic drug, whatever the case is, or a veteran with really severe PTSD, whatever the case
Right.
is. It's all about how do we give them their dignity back so they feel good about getting back on their feet and doing things. So I agree with that wholeheartedly. All right, so we have the homeless side. Let's talk about some of the other applications as well. So if we're looking at disaster relief, we talked a little bit earlier about it, right? Where we need about
Right.
300 of these just sitting in units or in storage somewhere. Talk to us a little bit about how that works. So if you were like, why can't we get that to happen? Why will FEMA not change and use better solutions than the trailers they've been using? Or have they started making the change?
No, they haven't. Now we're talking to some prime contractors and some humanitarian organizations that may want to take that on, but I think it all goes back to the Stafford Act
Right.
that prevents them from spending money to make improvements and make um, they can only build back to what it was, not to a better standard to make it, which is kind of frustrating, particularly after spending some time in Puerto Rico, seeing that there's a lot they could do to make the grid down there a lot more resilient when it comes to storm damage.
Right.
But our laws prevent that. Um, but no, we need somebody with that's willing to take the risk and has the foresight to say, you know what, not only is it going to be cheaper, it's going to save lives. Going back to Puerto Rico, there were 3,000, I think 2,975 deaths attributed to Hurricane Maria.
Yeah.
Only 69 or 70 of them were directly from the storm. Most of them were from afterwards, from lack of sanitary living conditions, not being able to keep your cold food cold, not being able to heat your hot food hot, not being able to keep your medication at the correct temperature. not being able to wash your clothes. I mean, the sanitation and just the lack of electricity was the main effect, main contributor to deaths. And I forget the name of the article. I think it was written by Quartz. Um, they had done a complete evaluation of death certificates post
Right.
Maria and compared it to previous, and the death rate was just unbelievable. And then to go back, the Army Corps of Engineers has told us they spend about $1 billion per storm on temporary electricity. Now, we're not aiming to save them $1 billion because there are things that our units won't power. We can't power a hospital and deliver it the next day. We would have to
Right.
build that on site. But for the homeless, for the housing solutions, every blue tarp that you see out there, we could park one of these in their driveway and they could have a clean, and all of our units come with a washer dryer combo. So you can, all of the appliances, the air conditioner, the refrigerators, all of that will be delivered ready. They don't have to wait. We just level it, tie it down, and it's done.
Let's talk about the process and the technology in your units, right? Because I
Okay.
think the most important thing here is, you know what? I'm just going to do this. I want to share a page because I think it's that important. So
Okay.
I'm going to put this up so people truly understand. If you're not familiar with what happened at Hurricane Katrina, I was looking up so I could share some. Right, this is what's happening during Hurricane Katrina that people don't realize. They were stuck. They had to come out the roof of their houses. This is the unsanitary stuff. And what's going on here that you're providing a solution for is when this happens, there is no electricity. There is no clean water. There is nowhere to use the bathroom because you're actually just swimming in it every day. Because I mean, that's everything. If you've been down to Louisiana or Alabama or the Texas or anywhere along the panhandle there, most of this stuff is above ground, and the way the tanks are done, like it's when a flood like this happens, there's a lot more disasters than people know.
Right.
And I think so. Getting back to understanding how does your unit handle all of this in such a small facility? We saw the battery packs, but walk me through the different systems you have. How do you handle clean water? How do you handle sewage? Walk us through.
Well, in preferably, I mean, in most cases, the drinking water is provided, but there is no water provided for washing and bathing, for washing your dishes and bathing. So what we do is we catch rainwater and we purify it. We catch the condensation off of the air conditioner and we purify it. And we have the purification system is run by our own electricity. And I guess the everything revolves around our patented solar collection system or green energy collection system. And we have an array that is attached to the roof, and in this case, we have some on the side to make it. That's our show model. That's about half size of what we would be providing.
Yep.
That would be our homeless model too, but we have typically, and I think I sent you a picture of the roof of one of the other units that has yeah, you can see it right there. The solar panels are all on the roof,
Yeah.
and that's a pretty big array for such a small place. But we catch the sunlight. We use charge controllers to put it in the battery to store it, and then when the load demands it, we run it through an inverter, and it comes out to be pure sine wave, very clean electric electricity that's safe for computers, delicate electronics like laptops and phones.
Mm-hmm.
But we use that to harvest water and purify the water, and we have a storage tank for that. And then we also use it to run. And this unit that you saw in DC had an incinerating toilet, which is a pretty big demand for electricity, but we harvest enough electricity to run that. If you're comfortable with a composting toilet, it uses a lot less electricity and we can reduce the number of batteries that you need. If you have access to city sewer, we can just put a regular toilet in there. But the sewer part is the toughest for us to handle, but we've got there's cartridge toilets that you find in RVs.
Right.
But the fact that we can run an incinerating toilet removes the black water waste issue completely. And then the gray water, it depends on where we are and what the conditions are, how we treat that, whether we will retreat it to dispose of it, whether we treat
Right.
it to reuse it, or whether we'll treat it, whether we need to, whether we can just dump it.
Where does the fresh water come from?
The fresh water comes from the rainwater that we purify. Now, it's safe enough to drink, but storing it in a plastic tank in the heat,
Yeah.
I wouldn't personally drink it. But in an emergency, I would.
But
Absolutely,
yeah.
I would.
Yeah, you get thirsty enough, right? It's a matter of life and death at that point. You can deal with
Yeah,
the what do they call PBAs or PBs
yeah,
or at some other point in
yeah,
life. First thing is survival. Got it,
yeah.
got it. And so you have several applications, and several models, and I think there's some of those pictures in here as well. So why don't you walk us through some of the? Let me go back here. I'm sorry, it was on the website, right?
No, the pic go to the document I sent you. That's the one that has some of the pictures of the other. If you unless you want to talk about the floor plans, that's
This
up to you.
document here.
Yeah, the pictures on the top.
Yeah. Why don't yeah, so let's
Okay.
let's go to this and then I'll come back to
Okay.
that.
All right. We have, for the FEMA, and our company was originally, we were formed to do disaster relief. That was our motivation. We've been getting a lot more requests now from the tiny home industry and whatever, but these floor plans that are on our website, they're designed primarily for disaster recovery efforts. So we have first responder housing, we have family disaster housing. And like that one there, the first one has a full bathtub, which is a requirement from FEMA. And we
Hmm.
we designed all these with FEMA. The Horizon is a first responder house. They just have a shower, but they have their own cooking and washing facilities. The Nomad is workforce housing, and then the command center. When we were in Puerto Rico, we were actually at the Army Corps of Engineers command center, and we actually had to move away because we couldn't hear each other talk over the generators.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean it was just a cluster of generators, and not to mention I don't know how the breathing was either, but we have like I said, our electric output is very clean, suitable for comm equipment and whatever. The clinic well, obviously we don't provide any of the eh, medical equipment or supplies, but we will provide a facility that you can have some. It's basically just exam rooms, a
Right.
bathroom, and an office, and then a guard shack, which is one of the things that the logistics people at FEMA said that they have trouble with getting. They have lay down yards where they have all this stuff coming in, but they have nowhere for the people to guard them, so they usually
Right.
sit in a car with the engine running. But
Yeah, sure. And then here's just another this is the floor plan you were trying to get me to get to the first time around. So, but
yeah, these are the larger units that we built to show FEMA, and
yeah.
everybody that sees them loves them, and even Dr. Ben Carson, when he was head of HUD, the first time we went to that innovative housing showcase, he says, "Why don't we know about this?" I was like, "We're trying. That's why we're here to let you know about it." But then, shortly after that, we had a pandemic shutdown, so
Right.
everything kind of got sidetracked there.
Sure. Let's talk about logistics for a second here. What logistical and operational considerations are involved when having to deploy your housing units to remote disaster areas? Is it different than any other, remote disaster area deployment of tents? And obviously tents are probably the best example, but FEMA trailers. Is there a difference? Is it harder?
Oh, no, no, no. It's absolutely a lot easier. What we do, because we don't need that other step of auxiliary power or temporary power grids or generators or anything else, we just pull it up and park it. Like when we were up in DC, I can't tell you how many calls we said. I mean, how big the generator do you need? What else do you need? The only thing we had to add to it was a ramp,
Yeah.
but we pulled it in, dropped it off. We have scissor levelers, and it was done. We were ready to go. And then the ramp people came in and they gave us a handicap ramp, and that's it. We're done.
And by the way, it was so hot that weekend and it was nice and cool inside. In fact, I probably overdid my welcome. There was a line of people outside and I was asking you questions. And I remember Vince going, "Hey, there's a line of people out there. We got to get out of here." But they were all very nice and very patient for us. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and you're saying that was all self-contained. Everybody else had
Right.
generators. You're right.
Right. So, and we had one of the guys who was helping us with the pointing out where we're going, and we said they were saying, well, where do you want the generator? And we said, we don't need one. And he said, well, you really are one of the only innovative things here. And I can't disagree with that because of who
Yeah.
I am, but I saw some pretty innovative stuff on that.
Right.
But unless you've lived through a hurricane, you really don't appreciate how devastating the conditions are after the hurricane.
Right. Yeah.
And to not have to worry about and specifically for like the first responders and the people who the insurance adjusters, the people who come down and work the storm, they don't if they don't have to worry about where they're sleeping that night and whether they have cool, comfortable conditions to sleep in, they can now focus on their task, and
Right.
that makes to me that's huge. Um, and there is one area where we possibly could talk about is the accessory dwelling units.
Sure.
The affordability of these houses. We have trying to work with a municipality in California, Huntington Beach,
Mhm.
who needs and the state has sued them to provide 13,000 affordable houses in their municipality. And they're suing back saying we don't have the grid capacity or the space to add 13,000 units. And something like this, if they would use them as an accessory dwelling unit, you've got an easy, fast solution to both lawsuits.
Right.
But, and I'm saying fast, we would have to ramp up a facility that could build 13,000 units. But the unit we're building or we're trying to acquire in Mississippi, we would be able to do 1 or 1.5 units per day per line. So we could be up to 200 a month
Wow.
relatively quickly.
201 unit per day per line. How many lines will be in that factory?
Well, this one will be 4, but we have expansion
Fans. Yeah.
opportunities elsewhere, and
Yep.
we can do per shift as well, and but we have we have our unit right now is at Mississippi State. They're evaluating the construction process. These are made out of SIPs. They're
Yep.
structural insulated panels, but basically you're walking. They're made out of refrigerator walls.
Yeah.
So
Sure. Sure.
we're talking about in implementing some robotics into the
Right.
construction phase, so
Sure.
that we can turn them out even faster.
Heck yeah. I mean, hey, listen, Jack Armstrong would be happy to hear that from SIPA. Jack's the head of the SIPA organization there. So listen, I think it's a great product. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you want to make sure everybody knows? And here's the big thing. How can people get involved, Mark? How can people support you in your efforts to make change at the highest level so we can actually see some progress on how we take care of homelessness and affordable housing as well as disaster, military, so on and so forth?
Short of writing checks, I don't know. I mean, we need somebody in the government who's concerned about saving money to step up and say, you know what, we're going to pre-order some of these things,
Yeah,
and here, take it from here.
that's right. That's right.
And
Get
we can make these, and they can sit on a lot just like it was sitting on the National Mall without outside power. The air conditioner will be running. It's not going to get moldy. It's not going to get um, It's going to be there ready to go when it's time to move.
Right.
And the unit that you showed a picture, we towed that one to California on a F-250.
Is that the one that was on the website there?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll put that back up so we
Actually,
can.
I think that's an F-350, but that could be towed with a 250. Yeah, go to
This
the
one?
tiny home tab. Yeah, but go to the tiny home tab.
Oh, there you go. There it is.
Yeah.
Yep. Perfect.
That was somewhere in Texas. I think it took us like a week to get through Texas, but no, it didn't.
It takes anywhere you go in Texas is a week long, man. The roads are long and the skies are big. So
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's it right there. So, all right, Mark, listen, we're about out of time here. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you, Mark?
The best way is to go to the website, pmgreenenergy.com, or they can call me personally at 228-335-3305.
There you go. But only call them if you're going to give money to help support what they're doing. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I think collaboration and resources such as connections in Washington and elsewhere is you'd be grateful to have those as well to continue the conversation. Right. Mark, thank you so much for coming on the Dave Cooper Live Show. We really do appreciate what you're doing and the efforts that you're putting forth. And you know what I love most about this conversation, Mark?
What?
The fact that you are a Hurricane Katrina survivor. So you understand, what happened and what needs to happen. You're coming at this from a very holistic point of view where you're just not on the bandwagon making money. You're sitting here saying, this is much needed. I went through it. It sucked. We need to do something better. And I'm happy to be able to share your story.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you for your time. Thanks for the invitation. And I'm glad we ran into you in D.C.
Absolutely. So don't go anywhere, Mark. The rest of you out there, hey, say thank you to all of these supporting members as well. Because again, how do we support people like Mark, hurricane survivors, and come up with better ways to build and better ways to house people if we don't go through the trials and tribulations of life ourselves? And he has done it, and he's doing something bigger, badder, and better. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching. What an amazing show. Thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to continue to bring all of these innovative conversations to all of you out there. Please visit them, see what they have to offer you. And as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring that bell. It would mean the world to us. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching.